I look very much forward to being your president.
Donald Trump has been elected the next president of the United States. Kamala Harris will be replacing Barbara Boxer in the U.S. Senate, and California voters have approved the recreational use of marijuana.
This is Valley View News.
Hello and welcome to the special election edition of Valley View News. I'm Rivette Soro.
And I'm Abri Preciado. New York businessman Donald Trump has been elected the President of the United States.
His victory over former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton came after a long and often bitter campaign.
I've spent my entire life in business looking at the untapped potential in projects and in people all over the world. That is now what I want to do for our country.
Polls during the campaign consistently predicted Secretary Clinton would defeat Trump. Clinton addressed her supporters, conceding defeat.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country. I hope that he will be a successful president for all Americans.
Trump's victory stunned many veteran political observers. Valley View News will have expert analysis of the election later in the newscast.
Members of the Republican Party celebrated a victory on election night throughout California. Valley View News reporter Sophie Ashley reported on the event in Pasadena.
Celebrations took place at the Pasadena Republican Viewing Party, but the cheers weren't for Trump. The event's main focus was on the new District 5 County Supervisor, Catherine Barger. University of Southern California manager Victoria Daves is a friend and longtime supporter of the candidate.
I've known Catherine for probably a couple of years and been following her career and just found her to be such a woman of integrity and compassion and thought this is the woman that I want for our supervisor.
Many voters came out to Pasadena to support Catherine Barger and Mike Antonovich. However, majority forgot about the bigger picture, the presidential election. After Barger's victory, voters left, leaving the building almost empty before Trump's big win. The few who did stay had strong opinions of the presidential outcome.
He just got elected into office, but nobody's here to support him. But yet you look at Clinton's candidacy, and Beyonce was out, Lady Gaga. Everybody who really represents our voice nowadays is out to support him.
Paramedic for the city of Los Angeles, Richard Seneff, explained the lack of support and division between the two parties.
I think the American people in general are moderates. However, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I'm sure you've heard that before. And we have two ends of the spectrum.
During the final results, there were only a few Trump supporters who stayed until the very end.
I dragged my boyfriend all the way here from West Hollywood. I voted for Trump. All my friends, all my colleagues, everybody was like, oh my God, you're crazy. But look what happened. I guess I'm not that crazy, right?
Voters may have left the event early, but the Republican Party still ended the night with a win. In Pasadena, Sophie Ashley, Valley View News.
Members of the Democratic Party in California are stunned Donald Trump won the 45th presidential election. Valley View News reporter Michael Serrano attended the event. Here's his report.
The Democratic headquarters in East Los Angeles was organized by a small group of dedicated Hillary Clinton supporters. Campaign volunteers made last-minute phone calls urging people to go out and vote. The Democrats said they were optimistic.
And I think that she's going to win this. Despite the information that's coming into fruition, I think she's really going to win this.
Many minority groups and local politicians were attracted to Clinton's progressive platform.
It's definitely the strangest election in my lifetime, although the moment Trump announced, I actually thought this was a possibility, because we've seen something similar in California where Arnold Schwarzenegger ran, had no knowledge of how government worked.
As the night progressed, it was becoming clear that Donald Trump was leading Hillary Clinton in electoral votes.
This is not the expected outcome tonight, and this is very, very serious. Not just for Democrats, it's serious for our nation. And if he wins, it's a very, very sad day for America.
At the end of the night, Mayor Eric Garcetti said he still had a positive outlook for Angelenos in the face of defeat.
Starting tomorrow, we don't claim this democracy, we don't cede it to anybody. We instead will stand up for who we are and what this campaign has represented. That we can come together across those divisions. That we can be the face of the world today and this country tomorrow. And mark my words, Los Angeles is the face of tomorrow, America.
After a tense night of elections between both parties, Donald Trump has been elected as the 45th President of the United States. In Los Angeles, reporting from Hillary Clinton's headquarters, I'm Michael Serrano, reporting for Valley View News.
Kamala Harris has made history as the first African-American U.S. Senator from California. Harris defeated fellow Democrat Loretta Sanchez 63% to 37%. Both Harris and Sanchez spoke at CSUN during the last days of their campaigns.
It's not about a cost, it's about an investment. Because when we put the resources into our students, and we put the resources into an affordable higher education for everyone, we know we are all lifted up, everybody.
We can ensure that we bring down the tuition and that we also insert programs that will help with the additional cost of college.
Harris was California's state attorney general, and Sanchez is the U.S. representative from California's 46th congressional district.
Donald Trump's victory surprised many longtime political observers and scholars.
Here is Keisha Phillips in Studio B with the outcome and more.
Thank you for joining me today. This election was one of the most controversial elections to go down in history. Why do you think Donald Trump won and Hillary Clinton lost? She was obviously highly favored in the election. What happened?
Well, in a normal election, people vote by political party. And also, there's been 2 Democratic presidents in a row, so it's very difficult for any president of any party to win a third time. Now, Barack Obama wasn't running again, but another Democrat was. So it was looked at by most people as a continuation of the Democratic Party in the White House. And historically, people want change at that point. So as a normal election, it was the Republicans' party to lose. Now, that said, Donald Trump was not a particularly good candidate. He wasn't supported by the party establishment. He basically won the primary in a hostile takeover. And then he ran a fairly clumsy campaign. So why it's surprising is that how a candidate of that sort of low quality actually won. And the election results look like it was about race and education. The white vote came out very strongly for Donald Trump, in particular lower education white men, lower education women, and even college educated men supported Donald Trump. The only white group that supported Hillary Clinton in any margin was white women with a college education. And it wasn't enough to sort of overcome the huge deficits among white men with lower education and white women with lower education. And the minority vote came out very heavily for Clinton, but it wasn't enough to overcome the 70% of the electorate that happens to be white.
What do you think led to this?
Well, I mean, I think the results say that this is about race and education. So primarily it's about race. If it's about race and education, that's not terribly unusual. So most American elections are, in fact, about race. It's just that the Democrats have had the larger numbers on their side in that question in the past years. The reason it's surprising is that the polls were wrong, and so that's actually a big deal. That usually poll takers ask how people are going to vote. They try to get a random sample and a good estimate. They have lots of ways to try to make that more accurate, and they've been actually very accurate over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years or so, but they were wrong this time.
Professor Martin Seiss, a political science professor here at CSUN. Back to you in the studio.
Valley View News had 2 reporting crews covering the vote in different areas in Los Angeles. Stephanie Bedoya reports from Northridge.
Los Angeles residents showed up to their local voting polls to cast their votes. Voters said this presidential election is different from others, and some are nervous regardless of the outcome.
It's crazy. It's very polarizing, these 2 candidates. You know, there's people that you talk to that you think sometimes they're voting one way or another, and no matter which way they're voting, they're strongly opposed to the other candidate.
Kind of nervous, a little nervous, just because, the up-running candidates were not my first choice, but, we got to do what we got to do, and we got to exercise our right.
Los Angeles resident Barbara Miller said voting in America is a right that citizens have, and this opportunity shouldn't be passed.
Well, it's a privilege, and if you don't take part in it, and if you don't participate, you can't complain. It's a right, and if you don't do it, you're foolish.
California has 17 statewide propositions, including marijuana legalization, gun control, and tobacco taxes. Election poll volunteer Bernie Williams said this election was not only important to vote for the next president, but also to vote for all the propositions.
I think this election is important because of all the issues that we need to address, such as the infrastructure within our country, school funding, international problems, wars that we're in.
Many U.S. citizens can agree this 2016 presidential election was one for the historic books. If you missed your chance to vote, the next presidential election is November 3rd, 2020. In Northridge, this is Stephanie Bedoya for Valley View News.
Burbank residents lined up to vote in the 2016 election. Valley View News reporter Dana Lights has more.
The 2016 election was a roller coaster. Presidential candidates Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton fought till the end. Many voters in the Los Angeles area participated not only in choosing the next president, but what laws should be passed in California. Burbank resident Margarita Garahan says voting encompasses more than who becomes president.
I think that voting in any election, whether presidential, statewide, or local, for municipalities or county elections, all are important.
There was a total of 17 measures on the ballot. Some propositions included education funds, gun control, death penalty, and marijuana legalization. CSUN student Travis Williamson said some propositions stand out because of media coverage.
Honestly, I think a lot of them are important. Maybe a few stand out, like some that you may have heard in commercials and other things as such. I know 64 is for marijuana legalization. I don't see one that's necessarily more important. I just see it's really important to put your voice out there.
Kindergarten teacher Stephanie Carrillo talks about Prop 51.
Well, we pay for a lot of our school, everything, all of our school supplies, salaries, so there's a lot of money that we would like to get and see for the kids and for ourselves.
Many people in the Los Angeles area came to their local polling stations to vote in the 2016 election and to make their mark on history. In Burbank, California, Dana Lights, Valley View News.
Proposition 67 has passed. Valley View News reporter Trevor Edwards has more on the plastic bag ban.
Plastic bags are an extremely common item. They are present at nearly every single store or business. However, one proposition on this year's ballot may change that. Proposition 67 seeks to create a statewide ban on single-use plastic bags. The proposed ban would primarily affect large-scale stores like Target or Walmart. It would also have an effect on pharmacies, convenience stores, as well as grocery stores. A few grocery shoppers felt strongly about this issue.
I'm for it. I think we should cut down on plastics. I feel like it's really unnecessary. Especially this day and age, we should be very resourceful and reuse a lot of things.
I think it's great, honestly. We use way too much plastic, and it seems like the only opposition are the ones that are making money off of it. So it seems kind of ridiculous that the environment is yet again left to the expense of profit.
Several companies have already begun offering alternative reusable options. It seems to be catching on with consumers. One shopper, who asked not to be on camera, says she doesn't go shopping unless she brings her bags with her. The prop is designed to reduce the usual sight of plastic bags going from cart to trunk to trash.
With Californians generating over 230,000 tons of plastic waste each year, Proposition 67 aims to change our regular shopping bags from these to these. Reporting in Simi Valley, this is Trevor Edwards at Valley View News.
Proposition 61 was not passed last night. Valley View News reporter Ebony Hardiman has more on the California Drug Price Relief Act.
Proposition 61, or the California Drug Price Relief Act, was written to lower the prices state agencies pay for prescription drugs. It would keep the state from paying more for drugs than Veterans Affairs. Spokeswoman for the No on Prop 61 coalition, Kathy Fairbanks, says Proposition 61 may harm veterans.
Proposition 61 sounds great, but the question is whether it will actually work in the real world. And the 200 groups that are opposed to Proposition 61 worry that it will lead to increased drug costs in California, it will lead to decreased access to medicine, and it will harm veterans.
Not all were opposed to the measure. Registered nurse and veteran Kristen Del Marti says 61 sent an important message to pharmaceutical companies.
That they cannot make billions of dollars in profits while my patients cannot afford to pay for their life-saving medications.
We are going to have to take on enormously powerful forces who think that the function of healthcare is to make billions in profit.
Supporters like Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders says it's time to stand up against pharmaceutical companies, while opponents of Prop 61 worried how well the measure would hold up when put into practice.
They're very long on promises, trust us, it's going to work. But the independent experts who've looked at Proposition 61, who've actually evaluated it and looked at it closely, have come to a different conclusion and have raised a lot of red flags.
Proposition 61 has been sponsored by the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and endorsed by the California Nurses Association and the American Association of Retired Persons. Those against the prop include pharmaceutical companies and the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. Reporting from Northridge, Ebony Hardiman, Valley View News.
Proposition 56 was passed, placing a $2 tax on a pack of cigarettes. Valley View News reporter Ariana Takis has more on the details.
Proposition 56 proposes a $2 tax increase on tobacco products. Cigarettes in California currently have an 87-cent tax on them already. The national rate is $1.60. This is how the math for the proposition adds up. A pack of cigarettes like this usually goes for about $7.50, but Proposition 56 will make it go up to $9.50. Some California smokers might cut their cigarette spending in the future.
I think it'll make me not really want to purchase it as often, because then I'd be paying for like a part of a cigarette pack that I'm not getting.
Emma Elam believes most smokers will still continue their habits despite the tax increase.
No matter what propositions, no matter you can't smoke inside, you can't smoke in Santa Monica, you can't smoke on, this mall's property or whatever, people still smoke. They still keep doing it.
Prop 56 would also tax other tobacco products, including e-cigarettes that contain nicotine. The state estimates that the proposition would raise over $1 billion in revenues per year. 82% goes to Medi-Cal, and the rest goes to tobacco use prevention programs and cancer research. Opponents say it is a regressive tax, and more of the revenues should fund public schools. In Northridge, Ariana Takis for Valley View News.
Proposition 64 has passed. Valley View News reporter Morgan Bertolotti has more on the Adult Use of Marijuana Act.
California's Proposition 64 allows adults to grow, consume, and possess small amounts of marijuana. On its surface, it poses a simple question: should society be free to smoke pot in California? People say they support the measure for different reasons.
It's weed, it's not like it's heroin or anything.
I mean, I'm pretty sure other people are going to abuse it, I guess, but if it does something good, then that's why I'm for it.
It will help the economy generate a lot of revenue through it.
It's good for people who need it medically, but I get for the children, I think people should more or less focus on doing that in a certain place where it doesn't affect them.
Prop 64 would allow California residents and visitors 21 and older to buy, carry, and give away up to an ounce of marijuana. No one could consume recreational pot in public, and consumption would be allowed only on private property or in cannabis cafes licensed strictly for marijuana use. Tyler Hughes is a political science professor at Cal State Northridge. He says there are controversies on both sides.
Statewide producers of medical marijuana are worried about what new standards, both in terms of growing at home and new distributions going to do to the system, and people who use medical marijuana, who have legal med cards to use it, are worried about what wider distribution is going to do to their ability to continue using it for medicinal purposes.
The initiative would establish a 15% sales tax plus a tax by weight for growers. Residents could grow as many as 6 pot plants at home and keep what they harvest, but local governments could regulate how they're grown. Tommy Amati is a medical marijuana dispensary owner. He says legalization is the direction California is headed in.
California was started all in 1996, and I've seen it grow because I've been in the industry since 1998, and I've seen where it's going, but everybody has gone forward with it, meaning Colorado and all the other states, and we fell behind, so it's time for it to step up.
There are valid concerns on both sides of Prop 64. It has huge potential to boost the economy with a multi-billion-dollar industry like it has in Colorado and Washington. However, there are significant regulatory concerns, and the feds can still decide that they want to come down hard on anything cannabis-related at any time. In Van Nuys, this is Morgan Bertolotti, Valley View News.
Coming up next, CSUN athletes received awards for their strong performances.
And the New York City Marathon has a new champion and a young one.
The CSUN soccer teams were honored with great news. Here's Esther Kim with the latest in sports.
Thank you. It has been an exciting season for CSUN student athletes. The 2016 Big West Goalkeeper of the Year was awarded to women's soccer goalkeeper Giovanni McCaskill. Women's soccer defender Nicole Thompson was given Defensive Player of the Year from the Big West Conference. The men's soccer goalkeeper Kevin Marquez was honored with the Big West Player of the Week. 3 Matadors also won the 2016 All-Big West First Team for men's soccer. Harvard student newspaper The Harvard Crimson has discovered another athletic team that rates female athletes on their appearance. The men's cross-country team created spreadsheets each year before the annual dance with the women's team. Certain men added sexually explicit comments about the women's cross-country runners. The 2012 men's soccer team created scouting reports on the women's soccer team based on their physical appearances. As a result of the 2 events, Harvard canceled the remainder of the season for the men's soccer team. The curse is over. The Chicago Cubs' historic World Series win against the Cleveland Indians, ending their 108-year drought. The world champions won 8-7 in Game 7 for the series. It took them 10 innings to do it. The World Series celebration that followed is being called one of the biggest in history. 5 million people came out to celebrate with the team in Chicago. What's next for the Cubs? The team went to Disney World with their families to continue the celebrations. The New York City Marathon has a new youngest men's champion. 20-year-old Jermaine Gabrielle ran the race in 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 51 seconds. He is the 3rd fastest runner in New York Marathon's 46-year history. He finished 1 minute and 2 seconds faster than the 2nd-place runner from Kenya. In 2015, he became the youngest winner of a road event at the International Association of Athletic Federation's World Championships. The second race for the NASCAR Sprint Cup was delayed for almost 6 hours because of the rain. Once the rain stopped, the racers carefully drove around laps to help dry the tracks. Carl Edwards won the Texas AAA 500 once the race started. That puts him now in the Final 4 of the Sprint Cup Series. Wet weather at the Texas Motor Speedway earlier in the week forced Camping World truck practices to be canceled. That's it for sports. Now back to you.
Thank you. When we return, find out what movie is getting major backlash from the public.
There's a new online trend that is breaking the internet. Find out when we come back.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back. Here's Aura Bella Hernandez with the latest in entertainment.
Thank you. Saturday Night Live aired its last political skit before the 2016 election. The 9-minute sketch featured Alec Baldwin as Donald Trump and Kate McKinnon as Hillary Clinton, being interviewed on CNN. Over the course of the interview, Trump kisses an FBI agent, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and a KKK member, only to have the host quickly return to the discussion of Clinton's emails. Toward the end of the sketch, the two actors make amends, lock arms, and run out of the studio into Times Square. When they return to the studio, Baldwin and McKinnon urge the SNL audience to get out and vote on November 8th. McKinnon tells the audience that they can't tell you who to vote for, but on Tuesday, everyone will get the chance to choose what kind of country they want to live in. The 20th Annual Hollywood Film Awards were held at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Mel Gibson received the Hollywood Director Award. Leonardo DiCaprio and Fisher Stevens were honored with the Hollywood Documentary Award for their film Before the Flood. Robert De Niro and Natalie Portman took the stage to support Hillary Clinton, just 2 nights before the presidential election. The night ended on an upbeat note, with Eddie Murphy taking home the Career Achievement Award. The Simpsons cartoon show has been renewed for the 29th and 30th seasons. This will make The Simpsons the longest-running scripted TV show in American history. The series will pass the 1950s TV show Gunsmoke, that now holds the record. The show has already beaten The Flintstones for the longest-running primetime animated series. The Simpsons averaged just over 7 million viewers for each episode. The series' 600th episode aired last month. There will even be a marathon dedicated to The Simpsons airing this Thanksgiving. The new movie Doctor Strange is the #1 in the box office, but it also has a casting controversy. The role of the Ancient One in its original comic book is a man of Tibetan descent. Marvel filled the role with a white Scottish woman, Tilda Swinton. The film industry has a history of casting white actors for roles involving different ethnicities. Canadian singer Michael Bublé's 3-year-old son has cancer. Bublé and his wife announced their son Noah's diagnosis on Facebook. The couple first thought their son became ill with bumps, but later found out it was cancer. Bublé and his wife didn't say what type of cancer their son has. Bublé said he is putting his career on hold to help Noah. The boy is being treated for the disease in the United States. There's a new trend that's going viral. The mannequin challenge is taking the social media world by storm. The viral challenge involves a person doing a still pose without moving at all. Rapper Ray Shremmer's Black Beatles song plays in the background. The mannequin challenge was first seen on Twitter in October, and now people all over the country are doing it. That's it for entertainment. Back to you.
Thank you for watching this special edition of Valley View News and Election 2016. I'm Rivette Soro.
And I'm Abri Preciado. Have a great week.